Good morning, South Florida. Welcome to another edition of UM's Frost Jazz Hour, right here on WDNA 88.9 FM, the home of serious jazz. My name is Chuck Bergeron. Good morning, everybody. Thanks for tuning into the program. A very special welcome to our live studio audience. Woo! A packed house today. You know that each week at this time we bring you a great variety of talent from the highly acclaimed Frost School of Music. Amazing student groups, faculty, alumni. Well, today, the boss, not Springsteen, the other boss, our boss, the one and only Shelly Berg is here. Solo piano throughout the program this morning. We've got a ton of stuff we want to talk about that's on the Frost calendar. Amazing things going on, but also one of the true artists, the true great jazz artist who's working and performing today. It's a privilege to have him here. We'll talk with him throughout the show, but let's get our program started. I'm going to let him tell you what the theme is after he plays, but Shelly, welcome to the show, sir. That's nice. You're listening this morning to the artistry of the great Shelly Berg. For those of you who are not aware, you know that Shelly is a world-famous jazz pianist and multiple Grammy-nominated artist as a player and a writer and arranger, but he is also the dean of the Frost School of Music. Welcome to the show, sir.
Thank you, Professor Bergeron. I'm honored to be the dean. That's the biggest honor of my life.
Wow. Well, it's great to have you here and all the things you do at Frost. Let's touch on a couple of things really quick. The orchestra at the Frost School of Music has undergone a change recently.
It's really very exciting, and I encourage everybody to come out and hear the Frost Symphony Orchestra this year and in the years to come. Our longtime conductor, Tom Sleeper, retired, and we held a search last year, and I guess it says a lot for the school because the candidates were quite amazing. And we ended up hiring one of the most well-regarded and famous conductors in the world today, Gerard Schwartz, who led the Seattle Symphony for 27 years, 350 recordings as a conductor, many Grammys, 14 Emmys. He founded the Mostly Mozart Festival in New York, the Eastern Music Festival in Pennsylvania. He's a formidable conductor who's worked with just about every big orchestra in the world. And the impact he's had on the Frost Symphony was apparent. The first concert, I was like, oh, this is something.
So somebody that accomplished to want to work at Frost, that speaks a lot for our school.
They bought a house in Coral Gables. He and his wife Jody, who's also quite accomplished, have moved here and made this their home, and he really is dedicating himself to the future of music, which, you know, is what we're dedicated to.
That's great. Well, we encourage everybody to go to the Frost School of Music website and come out to some of these concerts with the Frost Symphony Orchestra under the baton of Maestro Gerard Schwartz. Another incredible addition to our school this year is NEA Jazz Master Maria Schneider.
She's, I think, the only person who's ever gotten Grammy Awards in both classical and jazz music. She's a magnificent composer and conductor and band leader, and one of those people who is completely unique. You know, she's fashioned out of her influences a style that her own that has made a significant imprint in the world of music. Her music is incredible, and I've known Maria a long time, as you have. She only knows how to do things one way, which is as well as possible. Yeah. And so when she accepted the position as artistic director of our Henry Mancini Institute, we knew that she was going to come to the school and create life-changing experiences for the students, which she's already started to do.
Yeah, last week watching her work with the students was incredible. They're all inspired and digging into her music. Great to have her here.
Yeah, her first big concert as a conductor will be January 25th. She's bringing in an artist that has never worked with a school orchestra before, who's just one of these transcendent, amazing artists. That's Egberto Gismonti. Mm-hmm. So
January
wow.
25th.
Yes.
Okay, great. Another couple of things. The Jazz Roots series, to which I think you're the director of that. Big concert coming up November the 1st.
Yes, I'm the artistic director of Jazz Roots, which is really an important thing for me because it was founded by my really good friend Larry Rosen, and when he passed away, it was really important to keep it going in his vision. Mm-hmm. And so we were able to get a sponsor for the underwriter for the series this year, EFG, which is a financial services company. They sponsor the London Jazz Festival, and they say jazz is good for their clients. So they also have Latin American clients, Miami clients, and so they said, can we do something in Miami? And I said, why, yes, you could sponsor Jazz Roots. And so the first concert is called British Invasion Latin Style. So we'll have the Henry Mancini Institute Orchestra, 80 plus of our students, along with Jose Feliciano, Arturo Sandoval, Lucy Woodward, the great singer with Snarky Puppy and Charlie Hunter, our own Kate Reed, who's on our faculty, Fantine, another amazing singer, and the saxophonist with the Rolling Stones, a pretty good British band, Tim Reese. So we'll do music from Edward Elgar to Ray Noble to the Beatles to the Stones to, Amy Winehouse. It's all done with Latin American beats and a full orchestra. It should be an amazing concert, like nothing you've ever seen.
November 1st at the
November
Arts Center.
1st in the Adrian Arts Center.
British Invasion, great. You're working on a theme today in the pieces you selected to perform.
My theme for today, since we're all about education, is to play pieces that I associate with my mentors. I don't know of a great musician or a great anything that hasn't had a lot of mentors in their life. And so my first mentor was my father, who was a wonderful jazz trumpeter. And every time we were ever together, we played music together, including the last time I was ever with him before he passed away. And there are certain songs that just kind of stand out in my mind because we would always play them. If we were playing for 15, 20, 30 minutes, there were certain songs we always played. And I toyed between, should I play Willow Weep for Me or You Go to My Head? Because those are two that really stick out in my mind. I decided to play You Go to My Head. And so that's the first thing that I did today.
And who's our next mentor?
I think it should be Bill Watterson.
Okay. You worked with him for a long time?
20 years I was in Bill Watterson's band, arguably the greatest trombonist of his time. And I was teaching at a community college in the 1980s in Pasadena, Texas. And Bill Watterson came in as a guest artist with my school big band. And the students went to him, because I never played on the school concerts. They went to him and said, Mr. Watterson, our band director's a very good pianist. Maybe you should play with him. So on the concert, he said, I hear your director's a pretty good piano player. Why don't you play something with me? So we played Just Friends. Okay. And then he started hiring me. So the first person who really believed in me as a jazz pianist on a national level was the great trombonist Bill Watterson. And in 20 years of playing with him, I never ceased to be amazed by him. And before every concert, he'd say, okay, let's see who gets the brass ring tonight. And at the end of the night, he'd say, okay, you got the brass ring. But usually it was me saying, Bill, you got the brass ring. But he taught me a new song just about every time we played together. Okay. And so one of the songs that I'd never played before was Indian Summer. Until I played it with Bill, and we ended up putting it on our first record together, which was an album we did called Bonafide in the 80s. And so I thought, in tribute to Bill, who we lost in the last year, tragically, I would play a song that he taught me, Indian Summer.
Great. Wonderful. While Shelly gets back to the piano, I just want to take a quick second. We'd like to thank everyone in the South Florida community. This past Saturday night, we gave a benefit concert at the Frost School for the victims of Hurricane Dorian in the Bahamas. And Gustman Hall was packed. A very special thank you to Patricia San Pedro, our Director of Marketing, for just reaching out to the community. But also, a very special thanks to all of you who came out. It was maybe the most eclectic program of music of the last year, and definitely the longest. But everybody had a great time. We raised a lot of money, and thank you all for being a part of that. We appreciate that, and look for that to possibly become an annual event. All right? But now back to more music on the Frost Jazz Hour. We're going to take a brief pause for the cause, but we will be back with more great music from the legendary Shelly Berg right after these announcements. Yeah. And we're back this morning. Our very special guest, of course, is the Dean of the Frost School of Music, Shelly Berg. Shelly, again, thank you so much for taking the time. I know how busy your schedule is running the amazing, incredible music school that we have. But there are some places around town and around South Florida where people can come and hear you and experience more of your artistry. In Sarasota, at the end of this month, October the 26th, you'll be appearing with the Sarasota Jazz Club.
Yeah, I'll be playing for the Jazz Club of Sarasota. They have a local bassist and drummer over there that I've worked with before that are very, very good. And so I'll do a trio concert over there. So for anybody that's going to be in the West Coast at the end of the month, I'll be there too.
Great, October 26th. And of course, you'll be playing with a young lady that we're all really, really proud of. Recent graduate of the Frost School, Miss Veronica Swift, who has a wonderful article in the current issue of Downbeat magazine, and she's been appearing around South Florida, but around the world. And she'll be playing with you January the 28th at...
Actually, January the 8th.
January the 8th, I'm sorry.
January the 8th.
For the Gold Coast Jazz Society in Broward County.
Yes, it'll be. I've been doing these Gold Coast concerts early in the spring every year in all my 12, 13 years here in Miami, and this will be the first one without you on the bass. So Chuck is performing out of town during that time, so it's going to be really weird for me doing the Gold Coast concert without Chuck Bergeron anchoring the band. But I'm excited to be playing with Veronica Swift. When she walked in our doors as a freshman, I knew that this was going to be somebody who was going to be very impactful in the world of jazz. She is a force. Yeah. And her fame is going to continue to skyrocket, and I think it's going to break out from jazz into the world at large because she's just that talented. So, January 8th at the Amateur Theater, I'll be playing with Veronica Swift, and just delighted to do it.
Yeah, that's so great. The Frost School of Music has a new partnership with an incredible organization called Jazz Aspen. And this past summer, Veronica came out, and she was one of the guests. And so we're watching her transition from student to teacher and mentor, as well as amazing artist.
Yeah, and she was with another alum, Emmett Cohn, who's one of the top jazz pianists, of the young generation in the world today. So it's exciting to see our two alums performing together and teaching our students at the Jazz Academy. So we started this. Chuck is actually you're the artistic director. Well, you're the educational director of the festival. Christian McBride's the artistic director, but Chuck really organizes the entire curriculum. And what it is it's a 2-week-long boot camp for 20. We had 23 career-ready jazz musicians in their 20s. And it's not your typical music camp.
No.
They're not coming to play and hang out and get some cool master classes. They get to do all that, but they also learn about stage presence. Everybody had to have a mission statement. They had to put together their own groups and make them viable. They learned about social media training and marketing themselves and recording themselves. And to a person, every one of them said it was a life-changing experience.
That's great. Trying to make them think as producers and take control of their artistry and their careers.
And now Chuck and I will have to spend a couple weeks in Aspen every summer rather than being in Miami for those 2 weeks. And I'm really sorry about...
These are the sacrifices you make for students. Okay. One more thing. I know we want to get to some more playing, but because you don't have enough to do and enough jobs and enough of a footprint in jazz, you are also the musical director of the legendary Jazz Cruise.
The greatest week of jazz in the world. It's February 1 through 8 this year. Leaves right out of Miami. It's 2,000 jazz fans on a beautiful ship with 100 of the world's greatest jazz musicians. Over 200 and some hours worth of programming that we do in 4 venues, day and night. There's an all-star big band led by the great John Clayton. Every player in that band is a jazz star. Lots and lots of groups, and it's just an amazing week. Mm-hmm. And I get to be a musician for a week.
How about that? If you ever get a chance to go on that, I've been a few times. It is truly incredible. And everyone has that common bond of loving this art form. And you do a great job also of bringing an eclectic mix there. It's not all one type of jazz. It's every type of jazz.
Yeah, there's something, at any hour, there's something that you're going to want to hear. And Chuck has been on it a few times, and I'm really looking forward to getting you back on it because he's a crowd favorite. And a musician favorite.
How about that? Speaking of crowd favorites, you need to go back to the piano and take us to the hour. Let's do. It's always great to talk to you, but let's just sit back and enjoy listening to you play a little bit for the rest of our program.
Really?
It's a 29-minute suite. If you get tired, come back over. And
Okay,
we'll
I might come back over and chat.
Okay.
At least to talk about the music I'm going to play.
Okay.
And by the way, I do want to say frostmusiclive.com is how you can go on the web and get right to our concert series. There's 180 concerts in Frost Music Live this year of every kind, including the Signature Series, which are very special events with guest artists. And then you can also get to all the student recitals and everything else, and you add it all up, it's over 300 performances that you can go to. So,
wow, tremendous.
The next thing I'm going to play, I worked my way through college playing in a band. So I joined this band when I was 18, just before my sophomore year, and I stayed in the band. We worked 6 nights a week. We were never off. 6 nights a week, right through my undergraduate and my graduate degree. So school every day, playing in this band every night, and that was my second education. The band leader was a guy who I still stay in touch with. I still remember his phone number from the 1970s, you know. It's a guy named Larry Martinez. And Larry can improvise, but he's just a magnificent trumpeter and band leader. And so much so that if Harry James was in town or Doc Severs or anybody like that, they would find out where we were playing, and they would come to hear Larry Martinez. Okay. So he was really special, and he taught me a lot. I mean, I was an 18-year-old kid, so he taught me about how much the audience matters, and about you know, how to polish a show and how to put together a set that has an arc to it. And he was a good taskmaster for a young, you know, rambunctious piano player who thought he was going to be just a jazz artist, you know. And we played top 40 disco, country, Tejano, salsa, everything. And so one of the things Larry would do is if we weren't all back on stage after the break, by the time the downbeat happened, we'd get fined. Ooh. And so sometimes if the band wasn't on stage at the end of a break, he would start to play the verse to Stardust, which is 16 bars slow. It gave you time to finish a conversation, finish your coffee, finish whatever. Sometimes you were in the restroom, you had to finish that. But the point was, by the time you finished that verse, you had to be on the bandstand for the downbeat of Stardust. And that was a good life lesson for me, and also a beautiful, beautiful song. So in tribute to one of my big mentors, Larry Martinez, I'm going to play Stardust.
Terrific. Yeah, come sit down. You need a break after that. Yeah, you need a rest. You need a
A
union
little heavy
break.
breathing into the mic. So Larry Martinez never gave us that long on the verse to get to the bandstand. He always played it much quicker than that. But I always made it.
Okay.
5 years with him, I always made it. And that next song was one that I recorded with an amazing guy who made his living and made a very good living, had a nice yacht and a nice house, made most of his living as a jazz euphonium artist.
Okay.
A euphonium is like the baritone horn, like the little tuba. His name was Rich Madison. And Rich was, for many years, the head of improv teaching at the University of North Texas, and then moved to University of North Florida, where he started a program there. And he taught so many musicians how to improvise that the last 30 years of his life, he had students everywhere teaching in schools, and every week some former student was bringing him to perform at a jazz festival. But he played with Clark Terry and recorded with him a lot, and a lot of other artists. He was a very well-known, wonderful guy, had an amazing sense of humor. He had a band with the classical tubist Harvey Phillips called the Tuba Jazz Consort. It was 3 euphoniums and 3 tubas in a rhythm section. And I had the privilege of playing in that band, which was also amazing. And Rich was a funny guy. We came to do this record. It was one of the first jazz records I ever played on, so I was really nervous. And they hired a fairly well-known drummer, Louis Bellson, which made me a lot more nervous because I'd never played with Louis before. And that song that I just played was one that Louis composed called "The Hawk Talks," which was actually a song he wrote for Harry James. You might think he wrote it for Coleman Hawkins, but everybody called Harry James the Hawk because of his nose. And so Louis wrote the song "The Hawk Talks," and we recorded it. And of course, I'm nervous. I'm in the studio, and Louis is saying, "Oh yeah, I did this in a trio with Oscar Peterson. That was a nice record." And "Oh yeah, Stan Getzler and I recorded together." And I was thinking, okay, I'm just going to fold. Just going to totally fold. But we got through it, and that started a lifelong friendship with Louis. And I remember we were all staying at a hotel, little motel somewhere to do the record. And they were doing some construction. So we're sitting in the cafeteria, and there's a sign that says, "Pardon our dust, we're making changes." And Rich said, "That's the name of the record." So the record's called "Pardon Our Dust, We're Making Changes." In jazz, when you play the right chords, it's called making changes. So that was Rich's sense of humor.
Very nice.
I love that guy.
That's a great story,
Amazing
too.
Man.
I wanted to mention also our Jazz Roots concert. You're playing on this as well.
I am.
Okay. This is the November 1st concert, the British Invasion Latin style. Arturo, Jose Feliciano, the great Tim Reese, Kate Reed, but you'll be playing with the Mancini Orchestra.
I will be, and doing some small group things as well.
Okay, that's terrific. Another thing I wanted to mention real quick is your album that's out now, Gershwin Reimagined, doing really well.
It's a British time for me. This is the record is Gershwin Reimagined, an American in London, because I recorded with the Royal Philharmonic Orchestra in the famed Air Studios, and then we played a concert in Cadogan Hall, which is where the Royal Phil has their season, and got to record Rhapsody and Blue and some other things, kind of a life dream, and came out on Decca Universal, so on a major label, and made the top 20 of the classical charts, which I'd never done before. So that was all exciting.
That's great. And what makes that unique to you is all those cadenzas. That's where you can bring your own personality, your own improvisation.
Yeah, so Rhapsody in Blue, I play the entire piece, and even the cadenzas that Gershwin wrote. The cadenzas are the little places where the piano gets to just go off by himself. But in each of the cadenzas, suddenly bass and drums appear, and there's a jazz trio playing on those themes from Rhapsody in Blue, because there's three really iconic themes in Rhapsody in Blue, right? There's the United Airlines theme,
right.
And there's the big ballad, and there's also so we take those three themes, and the trio gets to play on those. Gershwin also wrote a classical piece that was based on I Got Rhythm with orchestra and piano, and so we play that, but I also added the trio to that, and some other fun things. So you can check out Gershwin Reimagined.
Gershwin Reimagined. All right. Who's our next mentor that we want to speak of?
All right, well, I'll close off the show with a couple of things. First of all, I think your children are mentors in your life. You learn as much from being a parent as you do from the people that are...
I can vouch for that, yes.
Well, your son is going on 30. And how old is he?
9.
9. But I wrote a song for my kids when they were, how old were they? This was 1987, so they were 11, 9, and 7. Now they're 42, 40, and 39. But I wrote a song for them, which was the title song of one of my recordings called The Joy. And so I think of my kids as important mentors to my artistry from what I just learned from being a parent. And then I think I'll close with something. In every city, there are musicians who could be anywhere, working with anybody, who are as great as it gets. But they just decided to live in that city, have a family, not tour very much. There was a guy in Houston when I was coming up named Larry Slazak, who was a tenor saxophone player and also doubled on everything great. And Larry was as great of saxophone players. He was a Pete Chrisley kind of a player. One of the greatest saxophone players I've ever worked with, and a great mentor to me because he was from New York. He didn't suffer fools, and he'd tell you just how he felt about you right on the bandstand. And as a young guy in my 20s and in that era, I learned a ton from Larry Slazak, and he swung so hard, and I just loved playing with him. And Larry unfortunately got cancer and passed away about a year ago. And rather than go to the funeral, I went a week before he died. I just flew to Houston, and I went to the nursing home where he was. And he was, able to speak with me. And there was a piano in the room of the nursing home, and I sat down and played a song that we used to play together on every gig.
Cool.
A couple songs that we played together on every gig. One was Beautiful Friendship, which is really fitting, right? And another one, Larry liked to find unusual songs too, was a song I think is from Oklahoma called I'm in Love with a Wonderful Guy.
Okay.
People don't know that song, but Larry loved to play it, so I think I'll play that one. So I'm going to play the song I wrote in the 8 minutes remaining. I'm going to play the song I wrote for my children, The Joy, and then I'm going to play my tribute to another great mentor, the great Larry Slazak, a song called Wonderful Guy.
Terrific, terrific. And once again, how about a hand for the great Shelly Berg? Woo! All right, Rodgers and Hammerstein. Thank you so much for sharing that with us. I'm in love with a wonderful man.
Wonderful guy.
Okay, a wonderful guy, okay, from Oklahoma. We're going to be closing out our show in just a second. I just want to say one more time, thank you so much, Dean Shelly Berg, for being here and sharing your time with us. You can hear Shelly live in Sarasota on October the 26th and at the Arsht Center with the Henry Mancini Orchestra and a cast of thousands on November the 1st.
See you there.
And we shall see you there. Do we have just a second where I can tell you what's happening next week? Yes. Tune in each week to the Frost Jazz Hour. Next week, the Monk Mingus Ensemble, under the direction of John Hart, one of the great professors at the school, they will be here. And 2 weeks from today, our new Latin ensemble featuring the great Nicole Garcia. Tune in every week to the Frost Jazz Hour on WDNA. Thank you.